Welcome to a brand new episode of Wrestling with Siblings. I'm your host, Araceli, and this is my co-host, Armando.
Hi guys, I'm Armando.
And welcome to Wrestling with Siblings. Let's get started with the very first match of Raw. It was a really unusual
way to start Raw. Because
Exactly.
we're usually used to somebody coming out and talking, having a segment, but no, this time it was actually a match.
And it wasn't even a match because the match never ended up happening. But it was supposed to be Ronda Rousey and Natalya versus Nia Jax and Tamina. And before this match could even start, the Riot Squad comes walking down the ramp and they are carrying a table. At that point, you knew it was going to be trouble. You knew something was going to go down just because when the Riot Squad comes out and they look this dangerous, especially if they have a weapon.
It's always trouble with them.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely. And they seem to be picking on Natty more and more each and every single week.
And I think that's part of her being in a really, I want to say low mental state right now because as we do know, her father passed away not that long ago. And, that's always something that's hard to recover from. And I feel like they took advantage of that. They're trying to use that to get rid of Natty. And I do feel like they are really trying to, just end her. And they see her as a threat because they put her through a table. And we did get to see that Natty was pretty hurt.
Yeah. It's just a matter of time before they break her down. And once she partners with somebody like Ronda, then the Riot Squad is pretty much in trouble.
And this is kind of a little piece of what we got to see because Nia Jax and Tamina and the Riot Squad, all 5 of these women teamed up on them. They completely took them out. And we got to see Ronda super upset. She couldn't believe what had happened. We'll get into that a little bit later. But now let's get into Alexa Bliss, who is now in charge of the entire Raw Women's division per General Manager-elect Baron Corbin. She basically wants to try the open forum again, so she brings out Sasha Banks and Bayley to have a Q&A. And guys, I said it in last week's podcast, and I will say it again. I think this is part of her plan to break apart Sasha Banks and Bayley. She knows their weakness. They're super vulnerable, and she's absolutely smart. And I feel like this is her way of doing it. She's executing it perfectly.
Especially Bayley. She's the most vulnerable out of Sasha and her.
I agree with that, but I feel like when it comes to egos, I feel like Sasha is more, I don't even know how to put it into words, but I feel like she's more, okay, I am better than you, and I will prove that. I feel like she takes everything super more personal than Bayley does.
Yeah, she does, and she proved it a couple years back at I believe it was the Chamber, where she pretty much betrayed Bayley.
Exactly. Which led into their first feud, and now they're back to being a team. But we do know that when put under pressure or put in a situation where they disagree, it's trouble for them because they can easily break apart. And this is something that Alexa Bliss is going to use to her advantage.
And their egos get the best of them, and Alexa knows that. And she's trying to use that to her advantage now that she's in charge.
And some of the Q&A questions were basically like, is Sasha Banks using Bayley? No, they pretty much said that they were going to be tag team partners for life. Who were their dream opponents? Trish and Lita, that's a pretty obvious one. We get to see this from more of a lot from the tag team women's division, I guess you can say. When you ask them who you would like to face, they always say either Trish or Lita. And then they were like, if you could have any power, what would it be? Make things disappear, starting with Alexa. They both were able to agree on that. But, I don't know, 2019 changes that they started to say was that they wanted to become the first ever WWE Raw Women's Tag Team.
And if you actually notice, there is a lot of women that are actually in tag team partners with each other. We have a lot of tag teams in the women's division. If you actually pay attention in Raw and in SmackDown, you see that a lot of them are pretty much partnering up with each other, forming an alliance.
I absolutely agree with that. And then we had Dana, Mickey, and Alicia Fox try to come in and attack these two. And then Alexa was like, no, this is not going to happen again. So what does she do? She puts them in a match. So therefore, let's get into the next match of the night, which was Alicia Fox and Mickie James versus Sasha Banks and Bayley. Let's get into Alicia Fox and Mickie first. Two veterans. They're extremely skilled. They are always putting over new talent. They know how to get a crowd's reaction, and if they're heels, they know how to make you hate them.
Yeah, and I mean, not only that, but they're also trying to impress Alexa now that she's in charge. Yeah, they were on her side in the beginning, but I feel that now they have more to prove and be like, look, Alexa, we're next to be the ones that face Ronda, if anything.
Yeah, because having Alexa being in charge, that gives her the power to give people more opportunities. And at this point, as I've said before, Alexa pretty much runs the entire women's division. So at this point, she has power. She can be like, you know what, you're next in line. And we've been seeing that over the course of the last couple of weeks.
And right now, her target is Bayley and Sasha. But don't be surprised if she also targets Ronda later down the road.
Exactly. Now let's get into Sasha and Bayley. We got a little bit into them in the previous segment, but they've been working super, super well together lately. And I'm proud of that because, as we know, they clash egos, or one will say one that the other doesn't like, and them being part of the Four Horsewomen, I think, has a lot to do with that because they both know they're both good and they're both respectable to an extent. And when it comes to them proving who is better, they are willing to go above and beyond to prove who's better.
I have to agree 100% on everything you said on this. You pretty much took the words right out of my mouth.
It's kind of like a Becky and a Charlotte situation where it's like they're part of the Four Horsewomen again, and it's like they're both giving that honor, and now they both want to live up to those standards, even if it means facing each other.
But the most important thing out of everything is that they look solid together. They look more better than what they were before. And what I mean by that is that all the little detail, they're not letting things get to their head. They're on the same page.
Exactly, 100%. All right, let's get into Scott Dawson versus the Lucha House Party. This was basically a 3-on-1 handicap match.
And again, the Revival comes out arguing that it's not fair that they keep on having Lucha House Party rules, but at the same time, the Revival has made a mistake because they know that what the outcome of the match is going to be, and they're not prepared for it.
Exactly, 100% agree with you on that one. They should know, hey, I'm going to face either 2 or 3 guys because this is going under Lucha House rules.
And I feel that's their biggest mistake that they've made so far.
100% agree with that. All right, let's get into Drew McIntyre Appreciation Night. So Baron Corbin comes out to the ring, and he basically says that in 2 weeks he will be the permanent general manager. And they start to show a video package of Drew McIntyre ever since his debut on the main roster. And then he is presented with a gold medal of excellence. I think that's mocking Kurt Angle because in a way it's disrespecting him, kind of like using the ankle lock.
Yeah, because if you really look at it, Drew McIntyre pretty much disrespected Kurt Angle, mocking him, using his own moves, and making him tap out to the ankle lock.
And there was only one gold medalist in the entire WWE, if I recall correctly, and that was Kurt Angle, and now they've kind of vanished that by giving Drew the gold medal of excellence. And then, to continue with the segment, Drew McIntyre says that he actually has passion and that he's given 100%. That is more than anybody else in the roster, according to Drew McIntyre.
I have to agree with Drew McIntyre because he has shown all that ever since he debuted in the main roster.
100% agree with that. I feel like he is the total package. Dolph Ziggler then interrupts. He comes out and he is like, I was the brains of this duel and we dominated Raw together. And Drew McIntyre basically tells him that no, Drew was always the whole package and that Dolph's role was only to elevate him and get him to the position where he could break out on his own, pretty much.
Yeah, and sometimes you have to do whatever it takes to get to the top, you know. But then he did ride Dolph Ziggler's coattails
For a couple of months to be able to get to where he is today. And Dolph Ziggler obviously didn't like that, so he gave him a zigzag.
Yeah, and I could also understand why he's mad, just because all of a sudden, once they lost the titles, Drew McIntyre kind of just faded himself away and just started to choose his own destiny pretty much. We saw him that he started to pick on Braun Strowman, and then all of a sudden he just started to form an alliance with Baron Corbin.
And according to Baron Corbin, he's going to be on the right side of history, and this can very well benefit Drew McIntyre in the long run. And it did, because Baron Corbin, after he saw Drew McIntyre get zigzagged, he put on a match, and he said, Dolph Ziggler, you will be facing Drew McIntyre. McIntyre, again, dominating the match. He dominated 90% of this match. He was not giving Dolph any opportunities. And let's be real, he was his partner. He knows Dolph to an extent. They know each other super, super well.
Yeah, I mean, he was dominating, not giving him any space, any opportunity to capitalize.
Exactly. And Dolph Ziggler, again, he never disappoints in any matches. I don't feel like he disappointed in this match either. It was incredible how he was able to win based on Finn Balor's interference. We got to see Finn take a huge part of this match, and he kicked Drew McIntyre, and Dolph Ziggler was able to pick up the win.
Yeah, we're seeing Finn Balor getting involved in the match now. Let's see where this goes down the road, and I feel like he's just trying to get revenge, trying to get out there.
And let's move on to Elias. He comes out and obviously calls out Bobby Lashley and Mini Lashley, as we like to call him. If you guys don't know who Mini Lashley is, he is Leo Rush. And he wants to pretty much break his guitar on him. And almighty Bobby Lashley almost gets attacked by Elias. And then Finn Balor, again with the interference, coming out and helping out Elias. That gave him the opportunity to be able to, take down Bobby Lashley, I believe, for the first time since they have started feuding recently.
And not only that, but also pretty much put Leo Rush in a position where Elias snuck up from behind and actually got to break his guitar on Leo Rush, which is pretty funny if you actually see the video.
Exactly. It is pretty funny. If you haven't seen it, go look for it. It should be somewhere on YouTube. WWE, I believe, posted it on theirs. All right. Moving on. Very, very quickly, we got to see Baron Corbin backstage talking to Heath Slater and Rhino, and he pretty much told them that there was only room for one superstar on Raw, and the way they were going to determine who was going to stay was going to be because of a match, and whoever won the match was going to end up staying in Raw. So we'll get into that a little bit later as the show goes on. Alright, let's go on to the next match, which was Bobby Roode versus Drake Maverick. If Bobby was able to pick up the win, he was going to get a title opportunity. Let's be real. This match, there was no way Drake Maverick was going to win this match, and he was brilliant because Armando even said this before the match even started. Armando, can you tell him what you said?
I told him that if anything, they were going to attack Chad Gabriel or cause a distraction so that
Bobby Roode would be off his game and that Bobby Roode would lose this match. And what happened?
Yep, exactly as I said happened. They attacked Chad Gabriel in the at the backstage area as the match was going on with Drake Maverick.
And then that's when Baron Corbin comes out and again abuses his power and was like, you know what, AOP, just go out there. Just go. And so then it became pretty much a 3-on-1 handicap match because if Chad Gable was able to go into this match, then it was going to be a 2-on-3. But no matter what, it was going to be a handicap match.
Yeah, the odds were stacked against Bobby Roode
and Chad Gable. And as we do know, AOP ended up winning and Drake Maverick was the one that picked up the victory. He was the one that got the pinfall for his team, and therefore Bobby Roode and Chad Gable are not going to be getting a title opportunity, not as far as we know. All right, let's move on to Dean Ambrose, who's finally back on TV. Not that he hasn't been on TV, but he hadn't actually come out to the ring. We saw a bunch of security that came out with him, and they were all wearing gas masks. And this was all due to the fact that he doesn't want to come out because he thinks cities are dirty and that the people are dirty and stuff like that. But that's beyond the point. So he comes out And he starts saying that Seth has to always get his way, and that Seth Rollins is a weak person, and that the Shield was something to be proud of, but it ends up not being that way. And that he lost control and he spiraled away. Seth Rollins then comes out to attack Dean and security. But so far we have not been able to see Seth Rollins take out Dean Ambrose. Every single time these two have pretty much had like a tiny little brawl or an encounter together, we've seen Dean come out on top.
Yes, he has, and I feel that's because of the anger and everything he's been through. He's just taking it out on Seth Rollins. But another thing too that caught my attention was Dean Ambrose modified his song a little bit now, and it comes out with sirens now.
And yeah, I think that's a really huge part in being a heel. I think you have to change your song a little bit because, it just says something about you. It says that you're somebody new, that you're no longer the old person that you were. And I feel like adding the sirens, even though it's really, really annoying, was good. And it's going to benefit Dean Ambrose in some way. Alright, let's move on to the match that was going to determine who was going to stay on Raw. The match was incredibly short. It was probably under a minute and 50 seconds long. Heath Slater versus Rhino. Pretty much Heath Slater won, so that means he gets to stay on Raw. But Baron Corbin never said he was going to be a superstar. So when Heath Slater won, he ended up becoming a referee.
Pretty interesting. See how he works out and plays that role from now on.
Exactly. And Rhino, obviously, I can guarantee you guys he's not going to be fired. He's most likely going to show up in SmackDown.
And I feel that Baron Corbin is going to use Heath Slater to be his personal ref and to manipulate him the way he wants to in all his matches. Because if not, he's going to threaten him to fire him.
That's a brilliant idea. I had never thought of that. That is actually pretty smart. And he can use them in matches, Yeah, like, I see that.
For example, in TLC, if Braun Strowman does show up, which me personally knowing Braun Strowman, I think he is gonna show up.
Exactly.
But he could use him in that type of match to his favor. So we'll see what happens.
I absolutely agree with that. All right, moving on to Jinder Mahal versus Finn Balor. Again, Jinder Mahal, absolutely an incredible improvement over the last year based on where he was last year. I think he's improved so much, but I do feel like he deserves to be down in SmackDown. I feel like he was doing a lot better down there. Same thing with Finn Balor. I feel like Finn should just be moved over to SmackDown and be given those opportunities that he needs and being in the brand where he doesn't have to constantly be fighting for time.
Yeah. Another thing, too, is that nobody from Baron Corbin's side came out and distracted Finn Balor in the match, which for me was surprising, especially because Drew McIntyre was upset and was pretty much hunting Finn Balor the whole night and wanted to get his revenge.
And Finn was able to get the victory. Not that that's surprising, but I do feel, based on what I had seen previously in the night, I do feel like Finn Balor is a new Finn. Why? Why do I feel that way? And I'll tell you right now, because you never see Finn come out and interfere in other people's matches. So either you're expecting a heel turn pretty soon, or he's going to be that person where, he's actually going to fight for a better opportunity in Raw, because he's obviously not getting one. As Armando has said, he's the lost soul of WWE, the lost soul of the Raw men's division, pretty much. All right. Drew McIntyre was seen backstage attacking Finn, and pretty much a vicious assault. Are you really surprised? No, not really. Drew McIntyre is one of those people where now if you mess with him, you are in danger.
And he's doing what he said. He's putting the entire locker room on notice, and nobody's going to want to mess with him.
Exactly. Now, moving on to the main event, which was Nia Jax and Tamina versus Ronda Rousey and Ember Moon, who she chose to be her partner. Tamina and Nia attacking Ronda right away. As we do know, these two have been working together over the course of the last couple of weeks. They look incredible together, by the way.
I thought Ronda made a great choice by choosing Ember Moon as her tag partner since Natty got attacked, and they gave her the opportunity to choose her partner to get in a match versus Nia Jax and Tamina.
As we do know, Tamina and Nia, they're the powerhouses of the Raw Women's division, and I do feel like they are using their power to their advantage. And not only that, they're using their size to their advantage, because if you look at Nia and you look at Tamina, I guess you can consider it Bloodline is powerful than anything else. But they are on the same page. They haven't gotten into any arguments. At first, I thought they were going to feud, but they ended up just coming together.
Other than Ronda, I think they're the two most dangerous women in the Raw roster right now.
I have to agree with that. I really do, because who else is up there that can really be very, very dangerous other than Alexa, just because she's in charge, but she doesn't really count.
And again, another quote, Alexa has Nia Jax and Tamina on her side.
Exactly. All right, Ember Moon is one of those you have to keep watching. You have to keep a very close eye on her. She did a fantastic job teaming up with Ronda, and again, Ronda has improved so much in tag team competition. I feel like she hasn't been getting as distracted as she would before. I feel like she's no longer in that fear of okay, I have to keep an eye out. No, because I feel like now she's 100% ready.
Yeah, she's slowly improving, and I feel that the entire Raw Women's division is working so she could improve and get better every single time.
Exactly. And not only that, Ronda has been put with some of the most amazing talent she could possibly be put up against, and they've all done a fantastic job carrying her, and she's doing a fantastic job carrying them.
And like we said, over time, she's just going to get better. Maybe down the road in another year, she's probably going to be at the top of her game.
Exactly. All right, now let's get into the A show, which is SmackDown Live. General Manager Paige opens up the show, and she's standing in the middle of the ring, surrounded by tables, ladders, and chairs, and they are about to have the contract signing for the TLC match between Asuka, Becky, and Charlotte. And as we do see, there's a lot of egos in this match, because you have three of the best women's wrestlers in the WWE right now. All three of these women are going to face each other in a first ever match, and it's going to be absolutely incredible.
Yeah, definitely egos play a huge part in this match, but during the contract signing, I felt that Charlotte and Becky are kind of underestimating Asuka.
And I think a portion of that is because Charlotte was the one that was able to beat Asuka, and I feel like they don't see her as powerful as she used to be before, just because she's not undefeated now. But you guys have to be very, very careful with Asuka, because we've seen her bounce back.
Definitely. She's very, very dangerous, and don't be surprised if she comes out champion from TLC.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. That's my pick for winning TLC.
Just because I get that vibe that, like I said earlier, she's being underestimated. And that's probably because she hasn't been getting the push these past couple of months, and she's just kind of been thrown out there. But you gotta remember that Asuka's one of the most dangerous women in SmackDown right now, and not only that, but her undefeated streak. She pretty much went 2 years
undefeated,
and that's pretty impressive.
And therefore, there was a match between Charlotte Flair and Asuka versus Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, because again, they decide to interfere in the contract signing. So, go ahead.
The one that has really impressed me these past couple of weeks is Sonya Deville.
Well, yeah, of course, because, she was going head-to-head with Asuka. She was the one that was giving it to her, and it's incredible, because when you look at Sonya Deville, you're like, okay, well, you look at her at first, and you look at her career, and you're like, she's not someone that you would see as a top star, but based on the matches she's had with Charlotte, and based on this match, where she single-handedly pretty much took on Asuka, I'm like, no, she is going to be a huge star within the next year or two.
Yeah, she's just waiting for that huge break, and it's a matter of time.
Exactly. And Mandy, again, she's also been improving so much, and I feel like partnering her with Sonya was a brilliant idea. But I do feel like the breakout star in this match is for sure Sonya Deville, and Asuka and Charlotte have been doing a fantastic job in putting her over and showing people that there's more to Sonya Deville than what we have seen so far.
Yeah, and as we saw, Charlotte and Asuka were working well together up to a certain point, and then all of a sudden a clash of egos, and bam, they end up pretty much screwing each other over.
Exactly. And therefore, this was impressive. Sonya Deville pinned the Queen, Charlotte Flair. That right there is really, really huge for her resume because she didn't just pin anybody. She pinned the Charlotte Flair, if you know what I mean.
Big match, Charlotte.
Exactly. All right, let's move on to Xavier Woods versus Cesaro versus Jey Uso. This was an incredible match. Each member from each team was representing their tag team partners.
Definitely. I think this match pretty much stole the show. And I mean, these guys faced each other in so-called singles competition. I imagine what they could all do in tag team.
Exactly. And to be completely honest with you, like, all of these men bring something new to the table together. There is some sort of magic that when all three of these guys, or all three of these tag teams, I should say, are put together, something magical just happens. Something sparks and you're like, oh my God.
And I don't want to underestimate Xavier Woods because he's been fantastic and he's been crucial to the New Day and their success. But I would have just thrown Kofi in this match just because of his creativity, his talent, and everything he could do in the ring.
Exactly. Cesaro, he outdid himself in this match. I feel like he was the star of this match. Not anything against Xavier and nothing against Jey, but I feel like he was the most dangerous man in this match, and that's why I feel like Xavier and Jey were working together at some point during this match, and they felt like they had to take out Cesaro.
Yeah, because they considered him as the bigger threat.
Exactly. All right, let's go on to Miz TV with the special guest, the new Daniel Bryan. Personally, I think he should change his theme song, add a little something to it, kind of like Shinsuke, just, added a whole new different background noise, but it's still the same song. Dean, we saw him add the sirens on Monday. I feel like he should change his song.
Yeah. And then another thing, too, that me and you could definitely agree on is, I don't know about you guys, but we feel that it doesn't suit Daniel Bryan to be a heel. It's one of those where it doesn't fit his character.
And he's so good at being a face, and he's one of those guys that you just cannot see as a bad guy. Kind of like The Miz. You can't see The Miz as a good guy. Why? You're used to seeing him as a bad guy. And even though in real life he is a total nice guy, his character is bad, is evil. He's supposed to cheat. He's supposed to do whatever it takes to become champion.
Kind of like Kevin Owens. He makes a great heel, and I wouldn't see him as a face. Another one that I won't see as a face right now would be McIntyre.
Exactly. So he's just one of those where I don't think... It's not that he's doing a horrible job as a face, as a heel, because he's not. It's just a matter of, it takes time to get used to him no longer being that super nice guy that we're used to.
And like you said, we're so used to seeing him with being that nice guy all around, and we're just not used to him being heel. And it's going to take time for us to get used to it.
And The Miz pretty much says that Daniel is champ because he finally started to listen to him. And I feel like that's true. There was a lot of trash talking between these guys, and Miz always told him, if you don't take the chance, you are never going to be where you want to be. And I feel like Bryan is never going to admit it, or Daniel is never going to admit it. But I feel like that was a huge role. His feud with Miz really helped him out.
Definitely it elevated his career to becoming WWE champion.
And AJ Styles ends up coming out, and so Daniel Bryan throws The Miz onto AJ, and then they all start to get into a fight. But if you notice, Miz and Bryan were secretly kind of low-key helping each other out to take out AJ Styles. Because why would The Miz want to help Daniel Bryan in a situation where AJ could have had him?
Which is kind of weird, but we'll see what happens. We personally, when we caught that, I think is that Miz is smart and he's always a step ahead of everyone. He's trying to look for something, possibly a title shot or.
I see that happening for sure. All right, let's get into Jeff Hardy versus Randy Orton. We are pretty much reliving an old feud. We have been able to see what Randy has been able to do to all of his opponents, Rey Mysterio and Jeff Hardy. It was pretty brutal between these guys, and this time Jeff was prepared. You can tell he was on it. He was ready for Randy Orton. I feel like after the feud he previously had with Randy, he was kind of like, I'm ready.
He was ready for him pretty much.
Exactly. He was like, I am ready. I'm 100% not going to let you do this. And you were able to see that. Jeff was on Randy at the beginning of the match, and then Randy was able to capitalize, and that's it. It was a no-go from there because Randy is simply more dominant than Jeff Hardy is.
Yeah, this is a more focused Randy Orton all around. He's just, we haven't seen this side of him ever.
Exactly. We haven't, and, Randy was able to pick up the win due to the distraction from Samoa Joe. And I feel like he took it too far this time because he was at a bar and, he was kind of trying to tempt Jeff Hardy, and they're using a real life story to carry the storyline.
Yeah, but not only that, but we saw Samoa Joe versus AJ Styles. He did what nobody else did, and that's get into AJ Styles' head. And he's been doing a great job on that. And he also is showing that with Jeff Hardy. So that's one of the things that you got to give props to Samoa Joe.
Exactly. 100% agree with that. All right, let's get into the main event of SmackDown Live, which was AJ Styles versus The Miz. I think this was one of the great matches as well in this SmackDown episode. Why? Because you have somebody like AJ Styles, who is absolutely incredible, has absolute athleticism, and then you have somebody like The Miz, who's improved a lot over the last couple of years.
Yeah, and not only that, it's just The Miz is fantastic, and he works well with the rest of the talent in the ring.
I feel like we saw more aggressive AJ Styles against The Miz. I feel like he was taking it hard towards Miz, and I don't think it's because he was scared of Miz, because, he's AJ Styles, but I feel it's like he was trying to release all that anger, and we could possibly be seeing a heel turn from AJ Styles.
Yeah, he's frustrated, he's mad just because the way he lost to Daniel Bryan, and he really hasn't been able to get his hands on Daniel Bryan, so like you said, he pretty much took it all out on The Miz.
And The Miz looking for open opportunities to take out AJ Styles, and again, he's trying out new moves. I've been keeping a very close eye on The Miz, and he's been doing absolutely incredible. He's obviously been doing his homework, and he's been training, because you can tell in the ring he's gotten 100% better.
Yeah, and weird to say this, but he pretty much used Daniel Bryan, to his advantage.
Exactly.
Because he was at ringside commentary, and he would distract AJ at times.
Exactly. And The Miz is smart. We know that. He knows how to carry himself, and he knows how to use every single small opportunity to his advantage.
And at the end of the match, Daniel Bryan went on a rampage and attacked AJ Styles.
Exactly. All right, guys, that's all we have for you guys on this episode of Wrestling with Siblings. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Let everybody know that they should become a sibling today, that we are doing this on a weekly basis.
Thank you guys so much for all the love and support. Comment below. Let us know what you think.
And before we do close out the video, for those of you that don't know what WWS stands for, Armando, can you tell them what WWS stands for?
Wrestling with Siblings. Once again, thank you guys so much.